Gridiron Central is sponsored by Georgia Northwestern Technical College, Riverside Automotive Group.
Welcome to the Gridiron Central Preview Show. I'm your host, Jim Allred, joined by my tag team partner, Matt Davis from 95.7 The Ridge. We have a very interesting Week 4 football slate to talk about, a lot of key games. We're just going to jump right into it. Adairsville traveling to play at LFO. 80% of our UPick'em users believe the Tigers are going to beat LFO in this game. Matt, what do you think?
2 years ago, LFO lost every game. And this is not LFO from a couple of years ago. They're a much improved team. And when you look at what they've done so far this year, they've won 3 games straight to start the season 3-0. Now, they shut out Heritage Catoosa and Dade County, and they've also beaten Gordon Lee. So the problem I see in that, Heritage Catoosa and Dade County, between the two teams, 0 wins. And then Gordon Lee, they've not had a real impressive win so far this season, more or less. So I really don't think that LFO has been tested quite as much as the team on the other side, Adairsville. Adairsville comes a game 2-1. They had a close game against Cass. Cass has turned out to be a much improved team this year. Adairsville beat Pepperell, and then they also soundly beat Almerchi. I think of the two teams, Adairsville has gone up against tougher competition, barring Almerchi. They've got a dual threat quarterback, Marcus Childers. Offensively, they're very sound, very balanced. They're going to be explosive in this game. I think they're going to score a lot of points, and I think LFO is going to be competitive with them, but I think at the end of the game that Adairsville is going to pull away. I got to go with the Tigers in this one.
I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think Adairsville has played the tougher early season games. Granted, Almerchi wasn't that tough a game, but I think Cass and Pepperell were. LFO is a very good team. These are two what I think are pretty good teams. Both of these teams could easily make the playoffs this year. It would not surprise me one bit if LFO won at home. However, I think the Tigers are going to be a little bit better than LFO is. The Tigers get this win. Moving on, a game between two teams that are still searching for their first win. It is the first region contest for both of these teams in 7AA. Murray County traveling to Almerchi. 95% of our UPick'em users believe the Almerchi Indians will finally get their first win of the season. Matt, do you agree?
Almerchi, they've had a really tough go of it so far. They really need to win this game. They need something good to happen for their team. They finally got in the end zone last week. That's a positive, but let's win a game. Murray County, on the other hand, this will blow your mind, but their last win on the field, that is, on the field, they did win a couple of games by forfeit last year. On the field, the last time they won was October 1st, 2010, unless I'm badly mistaken, because they did not win a game in 2011 on the field. They won 2 by forfeit, so we've talked about that. Here's your chance, Almerchi. This is not a very good football team. One of the things that sticks out of my mind is the fact that Christian Heritage, who Model beat not too long ago, by a pretty decent margin, drubbed Murray County 55-7 not too long ago, and they've just come into the GHSA. To me, that says a lot. I think Almerchi is clearly the better team coming into this one. I don't think they're going to have much of a problem in this game. I think you're going to see a big night for Jordan Collins at tailback. He's a tremendous player. He's going to get a lot of carries in this game. You're going to see some other guys that you maybe haven't heard from Almerchi really step in this game and have a big game. And for a team that is going to struggle, I think for the most part this year, to have something like this happen and have a matchup where they can win and have something positive, I think that's going to help them carry through the rest of the season. So I think Almerchi will win.
Gotcha. And I'm going to take a minute here to talk about a little something about Region 7AA. We start out, Calhoun is 3-0, Model is 1-2, everybody else is 0-3. Region play has not started, but what you're going to, the big question for me over the next 8 weeks with all these Region 7AA teams is, which of these coaches, of these 0-3 and 1-2 teams, is going to be able to get that team to solidify, to overlook the losses they've already had, to start playing extremely good football and try to get to the playoffs? Because the first 3 games don't count. It's a clean slate right now. Of course, tell that to the players that have been drubbed in 2 or 3 games. I think you're going to see which coaches are good at motivating, which coaches are good at game coaching, and those teams, the coaches that can get them motivated, are the ones that are going to end up making the playoffs at the end of the season. In this game, yes, I think Almerchi should win this game. Almerchi is a very, very young football team. There's a lot of growing up to do tonight, Friday night. They're going to grow up a little bit more. They're going to get their first win of the season. I'm not so sure they're a playoff team, but if Preston Cash can get all those kids on the same page and believing, they've got a lot of freshmen starting, a lot of sophomores, that team not only can have a good second half of this season, they'll have a great thing to build off of going into next season. So I'm going to go with the You Pick 'em users. I'm going to go with Matt. I think our Murchie's going to win this game. Moving on to a team where you don't have any question whether they're going to make the playoffs or not. Calhoun traveling to Dade County, 100%. That would be all of our You Pick 'em users believe that the Yellow Jackets will knock off the 0-3 Wolverines. Matt, is there any reason to believe the Wolverines will pull the upset here?
Mark my words, and this is not a profound statement whatsoever. Calhoun wins every game for the rest of the season, the regular season. I just really feel strongly about that. I just don't think there's another team in their region schedule that's going to be able to beat them. I just really don't. And the main reason I say that is their offense is head and shoulders above everybody else's around the area. They are incredibly good. They've had 3 difficult tests in a row, and they survived it by putting up big points.
Yeah.
Granted, the difference in this team, as opposed to last year's Calhoun Yellow Jackets team, is defensively. They've given up a ton of points in every game they played so far. But let's face it, Dade County is not near as tough competition of what they faced so far, and this is going to be a long night. I don't care where you play it. Calhoun is going to beat them mighty handily, I believe. So I'm going with the Yellow Jackets. Dade County is just, they've not won a game yet. They're not on track right now, and Calhoun is.
Definitely so. And what I'll say here, too, is, kudos to Coach Lamb and Calhoun. They scheduled 3 really tough opponents, extremely tough opponents to start the season. And he even said in the preseason game against Rome after that game, he said, look, man, we can be 0-3 and still be a good ball club. Guess what? They're 3-0. They're a really good ball club. My question about Calhoun over the next 7 games and 8 weeks is, can you get the defense better? Because to go to the state finals again, you're going to need a better defense because there will be a team somewhere along the way that will be able to hang with Calhoun offensively. The question is, can the defense make the key plays? I think the defense is going to get better. There will not be a problem in Trenton Friday night. Calhoun's going to roll, probably running clock in the second half. Moving on, a game that is very interesting locally, kind of locally, Cedartown traveling to Ridgeland. Cedartown undefeated. Ridgeland has 1 loss. That was to Calhoun. 68% of our You Pick 'em users believe the Panthers will knock off the undefeated Bulldogs. Matt, what do you think?
I wish you would pick this one first because this one is mighty
You want me to
difficult.
pick it first?
If you want to.
I will be more than happy to pick this one first.
I
usually make Matt
pick.
Gotcha.
It's not going to change my pick, but still, it's
gotcha.
This is a hard one.
Back to me on this one. Here's the way I look at this game. Cedartown's game plan is called Nick Chubb. The kid has almost 1,000 yards after 3 games. He's going to run the ball. If Chubb goes over 200 yards, Cedartown will probably win this game. What bothers me about Cedartown is their offense is one-dimensional. It's run some more, and hey, for fun, let's mix it up and run again. Ridgeland, they can pass the ball. They can run the ball. They have some great offense. They have some pretty good defense. I'm not sold on Cedartown's defense yet. I'm not sold on the rest of Cedartown's offense yet. I think Cedartown has won some games they should have won. In my mind, this is the toughest game remaining on Cedartown's regular season schedule. They still have games against Cass and Gilmer. They should be favored in both of those. If Cedartown wins this game, they will go 9-0 heading into the region play-in game. I don't think that's going to happen. Ridgeland is a more proven team. I think Ridgeland is a more complete team. I think it will be close. In the end, I think the Panthers will win this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against a guy, 938 yards, 13 touchdowns in the first 3 games of the season. But I'm with you. The question for me is, can he carry the load when he gets into a situation where he's going up against a more balanced team?
Yeah.
And the Panthers, they've shown that they've got 4 or 5 guys in the backfield they can get it to, whereas Cedartown, I don't think they have that luxury. And so if they can limit Nick Chubb in this game, I think they're going to be successful because I think it's going to be tough for Cedartown's defense, which I don't think has had a major test yet, to perform against a team that's going to have a more balanced offense like you mentioned. And there's some pretty big prospects from what I hear on this Ridgeland team as well.
Von Bell on Ridgeland's team might be one of the top 5 players in the entire state of Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, this is a different situation than any other game that we've seen Cedartown in this year. This is a statement game for this team.
Yes.
I think even more so than it is for Ridgeland. I think it will make a statement if Ridgeland wins the game, but it will really make a statement if Cedartown is able to pull off a win in this game. But I think that Ridgeland has history on their side. I think they've got the fact that Cedartown has not had as tough of games as they've had. I mean, a real close game for Ridgeland and Dalton. Dalton almost ended up beating Calhoun. Yeah. And so, I just have to think that Cedartown is going to lose in this game. But it was hard for me to make that decision. But I just think that Ridgeland, they've won this contest, the last 4 years. I think they're going to get the best of the Bulldogs.
Yeah, we're in agreement on that, as are 68% of our You Pick 'em users. We have one more game to talk about before our first commercial break. That is Model, the Blue Devils, traveling to play the Chattooga Indians. Model 1-2 on the season. Chattooga 0-3 on the season. 75% of our UPick'em users believe that Chattooga will get their first win. Of course, this is the first Region 7 AA contest for both of these teams. I'm going to jump in here first, and I'm going to go against UPick'em. This is a tough game. And in all honesty, I think it's a coin flip game. I think both of these teams need a big win. Model almost got Sonoraville last week. It was a very close game. I was there on the sidelines. Chattooga got drubbed by Darlington. I think Chattooga's probably played the tougher competition coming into this game, but for some inexplicable reason, I'm going to go with the Blue Devils. I'm usually the opposite way, but I really think that this Model team is just about to have a breakthrough win. I'm not sure if they're good enough to get to the playoffs, but I think on Friday night they're going to be good enough to beat Chattooga. Matt, do you agree or disagree?
You know, this one was another one that was kind of tough for me to pick because I think both teams coming into this game kind of struggling, and I've picked Model the last couple of weeks and have missed those picks. So part of me wants to say, well, it's kind of a close call, maybe even a toss-up. Why would I want to pick it for Model again and have them burn me for a third week in a row? But I'm a knucklehead. What can I say? I'm going to do it. Now, I really think Model will win this game. I think one of the things that's going to work out well for them in this matchup is they're going to do a good job of kind of spreading things out and spreading that Chattooga defense kind of thin. And I just don't think Chattooga is going to be able to defend them. I think Model is going to end up outscoring them in this game because of the amount of speed that they have on their team. And, I'm going to go with Model.
Now, one thing I will say about this is covering Model and their spread offense, there's not much spread to the offense. They still ran the ball 80% of the time. So if you think you're going to go out there and see an aerial circus, think again, that's not going to be the case. They run the ball a lot more than they throw the ball, not to knock the offense, and they do try to get in the hands of that, but it's still a run-centric offense. However, I still think Model can win that game. After the commercial break, we're going to talk about a few key games, including the annual Shrine game between Pepperell and Coosa.
Gridiron Central is sponsored by Georgia Northwestern Technical College, Riverside Automotive Group.
Begin your future at Georgia Northwestern Technical College. We offer degrees, diplomas, and certificates in over 200 programs of study. Choose a career in business, health, industrial, or public service. With the flexibility of day, evening, and online classes at any of our 5 campus locations, getting your education at GNTC has never been more convenient. There are many financial aid options available, including student loans. Apply now. Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Your college, your town, your future.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Central Preview Show. We're talking about key Week 4 games. Before we get back to our prognostication, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Georgia Northwestern Technical College and Riverside Automotive Group. Matt, now back to the show. Next game, the annual Shrine game. This will actually be Saturday evening in the friendly confines at Coosa. Pepperell traveling to play the Eagles. Pepperell 0-3, Coosa 0-3, a familiar thing about Region 7 AA teams so far this year other than Calhoun and Model. 86% of our UPick'em users believe the Dragons will get their first win of the season. Matt, do you think the Eagles can beat them?
You know, I really don't. I mean, both teams, like you say, coming into this game looking for their first win. I think overall Pepperell has a bit more depth. They're bigger, stronger, potentially even faster than Coosa. Coosa is definitely in a transitional year this year, and Pepperell is too in a way, and they've had some problems off the field that has taken some of their key players away. You know, you had one that was in the news just before, I guess, action got started last week, or maybe it was Saturday morning that I saw.
It was right before the Adairsville game, basically.
Yeah, and so, you know, they've got some problems, but I think they have less problems in terms of their depth than Coosa has coming in this one. And both teams really need to get a win here, but only one team's going to walk off the field on Friday night with a win. And I think the people in Lindale are going to be happy to finally break through and get a win this season. And they've had a tough haul of it lately. I mean, they've had some tough things happening. They've gone up against some tough teams, and they've been competitive in some pretty difficult matchups. So I really think they're a better football team than people are going to give them credit for being, perhaps. So I think Pepperell's going to win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I think Coosa can make a game of it, but all in all, I think Pepperell is they've got more size, they've got more skill, they got more experience. They had a tough row of 3 opening games. They played tight in most of them. They just weren't able to get that win. They're definitely going to get it now. And in my mind, Pepperell's the number 2 team in this region. I think it's definitely theirs for the taking and to get that home field playoff game. I don't think they're good enough to challenge Calhoun, but I think they're good enough to be able to challenge and beat every other team in the region. And they start their shot to get to that region spot Saturday night by beating Coosa. Moving on, Darlington now 1-2 on the season, traveling to Kings Ridge, who is 3-0. However, 100% of our U Pick'em users believe the Tigers will get their second win of the season. Matt, any reason to think otherwise?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm not very knowledgeable about Kings Ridge, and these teams haven't played each other. So this is a totally new experience for everybody. So I think this one's kind of a tough one to pick in some respects. I looked up some information about Kings Ridge, and it appears that out of their first several games, they've outscored their opponents 47-9. But the question that you look at then is, okay, well, who have they played? I know Pinecrest is one of their big victories. Well, Pinecrest is not known for being a very good football team. And so I'm not really sure that Kings Ridge has gone up against tough competition like we know that Darlington has. I mean, Darlington, the first team they played, Christian Academy out of Knoxville, was a state championship team last year. They're a good team. Darlington played well in the second half against them. They didn't do too well against Cartersville, but they didn't last year either, and they had a really good football team. And then finally they get to a team that they can perform against, and that's Chattooga, and they blow them out more or less. Darlington's, I don't think offensively as sound as they were last year, but they still have Brad Butler at quarterback, and he's just starting to develop some targets to get the ball to. I think they're going to have a good offensive game in this one, and I think that I think the verdict is still out on how good Kings Ridge is, but I know Darlington is a sound football team, and so I think they're going to do a good job as they go on the road, and I think Darlington picks up another win, 2 in a row.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this one. Kings Ridge's biggest win was against Pace Academy, and Pace is not exactly a great team this year, not to knock Pace by any stretch of the imagination, but when that's the game you hang your hat on, that's not the best game to do. Darlington, obviously, they're only winning against Chattooga. Again, Chattooga's not that great a team, so it's not that great. But Darlington's faced much tougher competition than the team they had to play up in Knoxville, Tennessee, and then, of course, Cartersville. Darlington's going to win this game. It may be closer than most people think, but I think Darlington's going to win this one. It's going to set up a very interesting game next week against Tryon, if I remember correctly. That could be a very, very interesting game. I agree. Darlington wins this. You Pick'em users, 100% of them think the same. Moving on, Tryon at Mount Perrin. The undefeated Bulldogs, 98% of our You Pick'em users believe they will beat Mount Perrin. That seems awfully high to me, Matt. What about you?
I think it's awfully high too, and one of the reasons I say that, and this makes this game difficult to call, you got to think of the wins that Tryon's had so far. They beat Almerchi soundly, but Almerchi, everybody knows, is down. And then Lafayette has had a tough road here the first couple of weeks of the season as well. So I don't think we know as much about Tryon as perhaps maybe we think we do. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think they're better than last year's team, but how much better? And I think we start to find out more about that in this matchup. Mount Perrin is a pretty good football team. Last year they beat Darlington, and they really did quite well for the most part during the season. They're well coached. Mitch Jordan, who has ties to Darlington, he's a really good football coach. He's going to have those kids out there ready to play. So this game is going to be really competitive, I believe, and I think it may actually even go down to the last drive of the game to see who is going to win this game. I'm going to go with Tryon in this one. I would say there's some degree of hesitation, but I do think they're going to come out pretty big in this game and like I say, maybe win it at the end of the game. Yeah,
my big thing with Tryon here, I think there are 2 key things in this game. Number one, when I saw Tryon play against Almerchi, they were in really, really good shape in the first week of the season. They had some size and running that wing tee offense. They really gave Almerchi fits. With them and running the wing tee, you've got to be in shape, and they were in shape from day one. That being said, they have size on the lines. I'm not sure they've really played a tough opponent yet, but they also had a week off to prep for Mount Perrin, so you can guess Tryon is bringing it. The Bulldogs really want to win this game. They really want to win all the games, but they want to make a statement. This can be their statement game because I think everybody's still sitting back going, are they really that good? They beat Mount Perrin. They show, yeah, we are, and then they go into Darlington. They host Darlington the next week in what will be a very interesting football game. I'm going to agree. I think the Bulldogs are going to pull this one out and sets up a very interesting matchup next week. Moving to the ICSGA for this one game, Community Christian travels to play Unity Christian. 84% of our UPick'em users believe that the Lions will get their second win of the season. Matt, what do you think?
I think they will get their second win of the season. I actually had the opportunity to broadcast their game last week, and really that game went down to the fourth quarter. LCA kind of pulled away at the end. But Unity played extremely well, and they were able to do some different things on offense in that game. They had, a couple of big plays that were like 70-yarders, and, so they got a couple of receivers. One in particular, his name is Markel Smith. He's like, 6'3", 6'4", something like that, real tall kid, and he can get up, and it's a mismatch just about every time you see him play because there's not too many kids in that league that are that tall that can defend him very well because he just towers over him more or less. So they've got some different targets on the team. Their quarterback has been playing much better as the season's progressed. And so I think that Unity is on their way to being a much better football team than they started out this season. Community Christian, on the other hand, they ended up getting beat by LCA, the team that Unity played last week, earlier in the season, and they beat them pretty soundly. So I think Community Christian is definitely a better matchup for Unity Christian going into this game. Yeah. And I know Joe Curtis, pretty well, and I know he has a good coaching staff surrounding him, and he's going to have a scheme and a game plan ready for this team. And they're going to work, and they have been working extremely hard this week to get ready for this game. I really think Unity is going to get the best of them. I think Unity gets another win.
Gotcha. I'm going to agree with you on this one. When I look at the opponents of both teams, I think that the matchups have been fairly even in the grand scheme of things. I think Unity Christian is starting to come into their own. I'm not saying Unity Christian is even a playoff level team in the ICSGA, but I think they're good enough to win this game. And the question now is going to be over the next 2 or 3 games with Unity. Can they get the key wins in their region, the ISCSGA? Yeah.
ICSGA.
Okay, you got it right. Alphabet soup time here for me. No, Independent Christian Schools of Georgia and Alabama. I do know that. Anyway, I think Unity is going to get this win. And in all honesty, if Unity wants to get to the playoffs, I don't think this game has any bearing on the playoffs because it's from the other region. But they need to start getting key wins. This is a game the Lions should win. If they want to take the next step, they will win it. I say they do. They get their second win of the season. The final game that we're going to talk about is a very interesting contest. Ringgold travels to play Gordon Central. 68% of our UPick'em users believe the Warriors will move to 4-0 on the season. This is our UPick'em tie-break game, so the pickers have to pick an average score. The average score picked so far, Gordon Central 35, Ringgold 31. Matt, what do you think about this one?
Well, before we go into this one, I'm going to go ahead and present myself with our weekly Knucklehead of the Week award because earlier I had mentioned when we were talking about the Ridgeland and Cedartown game that Ridgeland had played a close game with Dalton, which I think would happen, but they haven't played each other yet. I had my notes a little bit mixed up, and for some reason sometimes I mix up Ridgeland and Ringgold because I never really get the opportunity to see these teams play. It was Ringgold that had a close game with Dalton, and they got beat 21-19. So just want to get that out there in the open. I realize I screwed up. But anyway, this one is a tough one to pick. I think that it's a solid to say that Gordon Central has an extremely prolific offense. They've got some guys that can get out there and get it done. MJ Reynolds, Dre Prather, Clemens. We talk about these guys every week, and there's a good reason for that because they pick up big yards. They score a lot. Now, one of the problems, though, is has Gordon Central's defense been tested yet? Well, let's see the teams that they've played against. Coosa, Southeast Whitfield, and Murray County. I'm saying not. They have not been tested at all. This is a test. Yes. This is definitely a test. We're looking at a team that hung with a team that nearly beat Calhoun, like I mentioned earlier. And, so I really think this is going to be a difficult game for Gordon Central. I would not be surprised if they ended up getting handed their first loss in this game. But I'm going to go with Gordon Central because I do believe in their offense. I think that if they get in a track meet with Ringgold, they'll find a way to outscore them. But, there is some degree of hesitation when I make this pick. At first, I really wanted to go with Ringgold, but I'm going to stick with Gordon Central.
This one is very difficult because as you're sitting here talking, I'm flashing back to last year, the region play-in game. Cedartown and Ringgold got in a track meet. Cedartown won the game. What does that have to do with this year? Probably not too terribly much, but the way I look at it is this. Gordon Central hasn't played anybody. I've been saying this from the beginning of the season. I don't know if the scheduling, if it was genius or if it was not genius, because sometimes you schedule a lot of easy opponents and you take it on the nose the first couple of times you play somebody good. This is the first good team Gordon Central has played. Ringgold's already played a couple of good teams. Gordon Central's offense is going to score points. Can Ringgold's offense keep up? I'm not so sure, but Gordon Central's defense over the last 6 years has been notorious for giving up too many points. It's a complete toss-up for me. You know, I really want to pick Ringgold, but for some reason, I keep going back to Gordon Central simply because it is. I think the track meet aspect of it, Gordon Central says, you know, you're going to have to try to outscore us. I'm not so sure Ringgold's going to be able to do that. I think Gordon Central's going to be able to score enough points here. The other thing is, it's a big region game for both of these teams. Both of these teams want to make that statement saying that we can win this region, we can go to the playoffs. The team that wins this game, obviously, already is going to have a leg up in the region standings and the playoff possibilities. I say that Gordon Central is going to be that team. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a long game and lots of scoring. But Gordon Central, according to me, according to Matt, according to our You Pick'em users, the Warriors will end up winning. And that's going to wrap us up for this week's show. If you would like to pick against us in our picks, go to You Pick'em. Excuse me, don't go to You Pick'em. Go to PrepCentralOnline.com and click on the High School Pick'em contest. We can compete each week for a chance to win a pizza from Johnny's Pizza. And winners of all the weeks at the end of the season will be thrown into a random drawing for a chance to win a flat screen TV just in time for the bowl season and, of course, the Super Bowl as well. From Matt Davis, Austin Wiggins, and Kevin Myrick, I'm Jim Arred saying we'll see you on the sidelines on Friday.
Gridiron Central is sponsored by Georgia Northwestern Technical College, Riverside Automotive Group.
Begin your future at Georgia Northwestern Technical College. We offer degrees, diplomas, and certificates in over 200 programs of study. Choose a career in business, health, industrial, or public service. With the flexibility of day, evening, and online classes at any of our 5 campus locations, getting your education at GNTC has never been more convenient. There are many financial aid options available, including student loans. Apply now. Georgia Northwestern Technical College. Your college, your town, your future.